Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and those who are just tuning in for the first time. And by that, I mean all of you, because this is the first time. Um, so, my name is MK. I'm one of the peeps that is part of this coalition known as Multiverse Productions. With me today, we also have James, who is sitting to my right.
Hello, hello.
He waved, you can't see that. To my left is
I
Kara.
did not wave. I gave a peace sign.
He gave a peace sign. That's fair, that's fair. We also have Kara to my left.
Hi.
She kind of shrugged. And then joining us from far, far away, we have the magical Osh Josh.
I am here. I am not queer. Get used to it.
And then that's fair. Okay. I don't know how to respond to that. And then last but not least, Alex, are you still in Utah or where are you at?
I'm currently in St. George right now until Sunday when I fly back to Indiana. So,
Yeah, we did not actually know this on Sunday. I'm getting the week confused. We did not know this on Sunday, but Alex apparently was in Utah, and so we ran into him, and it was super cool. I thought I wasn't going to see this guy until late August, something like that. So it filled my heart with happiness.
it was indeed a pleasant surprise.
Indubitably. All right. So what we have today for you, we have been working longer than I care to admit on a segment, sort of a little podcast thing that we're doing right now, called Cush. And along with that, there was talk about doing a D&D segment, um, and that's what we're doing today. So with Cush, we will have some podcasts that are shorter and just talk more about Kara, what was the acronym for that again? It was
Comedy with uplifting science and happiness.
yes, it's the greatest thing in the universe. Um,
Ow.
The good Cush.
the good Cush, yes. So we have that, and we will have shorter segments where we focus on, just comedic little things with some science and, something that's just nice and uplifting. And then there will be other times where we do stuff like this, where we focus on, death, destruction, and witchcraft. So it's going to be a good time. For those of you who have
Yes.
not played D&D before, highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun and it's extremely nerdy. And we've actually played for a while now, but this is the first time we decided to record a session. So, brand new campaign. I am the dungeon master. Basically, I am the evil storyteller who is orchestrating all of the events that take place, and I'm trying to stop them from killing themselves sometimes.
Basically, he wants us to succeed and fail at the exact same time.
It's really fun for me to watch. And then the four others who are here, they are the players in this majestic campaign. So we're doing brand new campaign starting at level 1, and it's gonna be a good experience. So, yeah, so let's dive right in to this new and fascinating session.
I want
Um,
Matt Mercer.
I know, I'm sorry. I can never be Matt Mercer, but
It's okay though. You don't have to be a Matt Messer to be the second best DM in the world.
aw,
I'm just
dun dun.
kidding. I love you.
I love you too. All right,
Actually, you have to not be Matt Mercer in order to be the second best DM in the world.
that's fair. Matt Mercer is basically a god. All right, everyone should have characters prepared, and I have
Oh yeah.
some evil adventures laid out. So, we're going to get started right now.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Let us begin.
the four of you, have the four of you have not met each other before. Um, this is going to be the first time that you encounter each other. All of you, as you awake, because yes, you have been unconscious. The four of you awake to find yourselves inside what appears to be the brig of a very large ship. You're able to see kind of rusty-looking iron bars all around you. All four of you are piled together in a single cell. The door is locked. What you're able to see around you is another cage to your right, the bars of which are shared between the two cages. They are separate, they have separate doors and everything. And the cages themselves are pressed up against the wall of the ship. Now, the two doors to the two cages that you are in, both of them feed out into about a 5-foot by 25-foot open space, and in the middle of that space on the opposite wall is a wooden door that you can only assume leads to the rest of the ship. So, the four of you are in this cage. Your weapons and armor are missing, and you all are bound in manacles both on your hands and in your feet. They appear to be made out of a very fine, almost unnaturally smooth sort of steel. And the chains between the two manacles are long enough that they do allow you some freedom of movement, but you can't move your arms apart about as far as your shoulders. So all of you are bound in that way. You're able to move around the cage, and the cage is about 25 feet by 25 feet. The same is true for the other cage.
Can we see what's in the other cage?
Yes, you can. But before I let you know that, can everyone please describe their characters, just so we can get a little bit of an idea? James, if you don't mind starting.
Well, since I have nothing on me, I certainly hope I still have my shell necklace.
Yes.
Okay, they didn't take that from me, which is good. I am a human-looking character about. Well, I'm a tall human. I'm about 6'4". Very tan. I look like I have worked in fishing. Rough hands. Slight beard, but not old enough to grow one yet. Looks like I'm trying to. I have shockingly yellow eyes. So, that's the biggest thing that stands out with me. I'm also, I'm not unmuscular, but I am a little bit scrawny for a fisherman.
Alright, and next we'll have Kara.
Okay. I am a tabaxi, so I'm humanoid, but I'm also a cat. Is probably the best way to describe it.
That needs to go on on a shirt or something like that.
Yeah. So, coloration kind of like a snow leopard, white with grayish spots. Eyes are bright blue. I'm 5'9". Pretty much normally human proportion from what I understand, and look pretty young.
Hey,
Cool.
I guess that brings it up to me. So, pretty short for my species. I am a furbolg, which is a race of giant kin, but I've got pale blue skin. It's almost like a gray color. I've got hair. It's got like little bits of moss in it. And I stand at a rather short 7'4".
Yeah, just your average, giant man.
Just your average giant kin species, 7'4" folk. Members of my species have a lot to do with nature, but besides the moss in my hair, the only thing that would indicate that I have been outside at all is the dirt that I've been collecting on my face and the rest of my body.
I mean, dirt is usually a good indicator.
Yep.
And that brings us to Alex.
I am, in fact, dummy thick. I am a 7 foot tall dragonborn barbarian that stands before you. My eyes glow red with fire resistance. I am an acolyte by nature and feel very religiously inclined, and so occasionally I'll just start praying for no reason and then tell all of you that you're all going to go to hell.
Are you taking the zealot subclass?
No, uh, no, no. I'm just an acolyte. I don't get anything from this. All I do is just tell you you're going to hell, and every god that I contact just looks at me with disdain and disgust.
What if we're worshiping the same God? You don't know that. I haven't shown
You're
you my
going to
fingers.
hell.
I mean, at
Me.
least you're honest. Um, all right. So this is what you were all able to see is, you're each other. You are able to see the other people who are locked in this cage with you. In the
Hey, you.
cage
You were
next
trying
to
to
you,
cross the border, right?
yes, you awaken in a cart. No, you in the cage next to you, you're able to see 6 other figures who all are awake and kind of moving around. Some of them are sitting down. So you're able to see one figure who appears to be a very muscular, green-skinned. He looks to be half orc. Um, his eyes kind of dart around, looking at the 4 of you, and then back to the other people who are in his group. Sorry.
So
Yes,
this dude
Josh, a
is
boat
like a
is
human.
basically a water cart.
Is he like human?
He is half orc.
Half orc.
Yes.
Half orc, right? Half orc.
So he's kind of sitting in the corner, kind of tucked away. He's looking at the 4 of you. His eyes are kind of darting all over the place. He also does not have anything on him. Each one of these guys, aside from rags, they don't really have much on them. The next one you can see is a large warforged, so just like large mechanical stone and metal body. His face has got a couple of spots on it where it appears that almost like artificial scars were burned into him. He probably did that himself. Yeah, basically. It looks like he kind of branded himself with scars, because Warforged, they're constructs in a sense, so they can't get scars. So it looks like he did that more for intimidation factor. You are able to see that his build looks, very strong, and on each of his arms he appears to have almost like miniature cannons. You can assume that he doesn't have anything to put in the cannons, but they are there. And he's kind of pacing back and forth, not even, locking eyes with any of you. He just is walking from the front of the cage to the back of the cage. You are also able to see who appears to be a middle-aged water genasi. So she's got kind of bluish. So water genasi, she is more or less half elemental. She has blue skin. Her hair is kind of greenish, bluish, and she just kind of has a sort of a magical look to her. She is also sitting in the corner. She appears to be whittling something. And she's, fairly muscular for a genasi. Their build is relatively human looking. So she's toned. She's not like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I should say old Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now he's kind of like a sack of leather.
He's still got a hot bod, better than any of us. Let's be honest.
You're not wrong. But yeah, so she's like fairly toned. James is giving a face of pure disgust right now. You were able to see another water genasi. He is wearing glasses. He is slimmer than the other, and he looks as though he is he looks like he's related to the first one. Now that could just be because all of you think that all Water Genasi look alike, and I would say that's racist. But no, it actually looks like that they are related. So,
They all
Species
do.
is
That's
not
the thing.
racist.
I mean,
She has a good point. Get your facts right there,
I know,
bud.
I'm sorry.
Only point that I really want is my Warhammer.
Huh?
The only point that I really want is my Warhammer, so I want to go
Yeah, so
find
far
that
so
and get
far.
that back.
So he is sitting next to the first one. As a note, he has spectacles, and he appears to be looking over some papers, like some torn, water-damaged pieces of parchment, and he's kind of scouring over them. It looks like something that he probably hid inside whatever clothing he had on at the time, because like everyone else, he is kind of dressed in torn-up garb. The next person you see is a relatively young tiefling-looking girl. You're actually kind of surprised to see someone this young. She looks like she's probably around like 10 years old. And she is also kind of sulking in the corner, glaring at other people as they walk past, or if they make eye contact with her. If you make eye contact with her, she also kind of glares at you and sticks her tongue out. Yeah, aside from that, it's just really strange to see someone this young here. And
It's really strange to be here. Either
I
way.
also
mean,
fair. Also
the
fair.
last thing I remember was walking into a bar, so this is all pretty strange.
Yeah,
So what you're saying is you walked into the boundaries of our cage.
No, it very well could be. I've actually never had a drink before, so maybe instead of walking into a bar, I actually walked into the cage.
that
I
is
don't
a
know.
distinct possibility.
Which that's what I was going for.
Puns. Um, and then the last person you see in the other cage, Kara, this resonates well with you. You see another Tabaxi. She is, her fur is more kind of silverish, bronzish, kind of patches of the two. And she appears to be kind of walking in a circle around the cage. She is not making eye contact with anyone, but it's not necessarily because she, doesn't seem to like them. As you pay more attention, you notice that it looks like her eyes kind of have a grayish glaze haze over them. So she's half blind, you can infer. She appears old, like very, very old for a tabaxi. Still young enough to be up and kicking, but this sort of person is someone that you would expect to see, more settled down in a village, not necessarily with a group of suspicious characters held captive aboard a ship. So it's kind of a weird experience. So yeah, those are all the people you see in the cage.
I do
Cool.
have a question.
Yes.
What is the history of the Warforged on this continent?
On this continent, they are not incredibly common, but they are respected and treated more than on other continents. So the continent that most of you guys have known for most of your life is known as Kelvalin. The world you're in is Falinar. And Kelvalin is a very old, very, very old, and fairly developed continent as compared to some of the others that are still tribal or still have civil wars going on. Kelvalin is relatively peaceful with a couple of. Occasionally you'll have.
Kelvin is where we are.
It's where you were. You do not know where you currently are.
High
We're on
seas.
the water.
You're on the water, probably, yeah. You do feel the boat swaying, so you can infer that you're on the ocean. Maybe you're on a lake. You don't know at this point. Maybe it's a very, very small river, or a very big river.
Maybe.
What would it take to break out of these chains?
You're welcome to roll for strength.
All right, let's do this, boy.
Let's roll over the campaign. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Alright, hold up. Strength
And this is
is
very like honor code based. Not honor code. What's that called?
Drum roll.
Honor system?
17.
Honor system. 17.
Yes.
Okay. So you thrash at the chains and you try to tear them apart, and as you pull, what you notice is the chains almost seem to get tighter around your wrists, and the chains binding the two manacles together start to almost shrink and constrict, so your hands get closer and closer together.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
the moment you stop struggling, they go back to normal.
Oh, well, that's good.
Oh, that's bothersome. I don't like this. I struggle again because I have -1 intelligence.
Okay. Roll for strength again.
Real quick. We're all in the same cage, right?
Yeah, all
It
four.
15.
basically makes us best friends, right?
So the 4 of you are in one cage, the 6 of them are in another.
That
We're
was
all
a
best
15,
friends,
by
right?
the way.
15?
Yes.
Okay, you struggle again, and there's a little bit of your veins are very prominent and elegant. And as you struggle, once again, the chains kind of, contract and come back together. So your wrists kind of, get stuck together, and yeah, nothing happens.
Is it is this?
Oh yes, oh yeah. There's a lot of clanking and grunting.
Let me out of here!
Will you quiet down? I'm trying to think of a way out.
Hey, MK, do they empty out all of my pockets?
Roll for sleight of hand.
Hey. No, being a cleric, I wouldn't expect this to be as high. No, that's just basic dexterity. 15?
50. Yeah, they've got basically everything.
What does basically everything mean?
They got everything.
Okay.
I'll roll it just because it could be very interesting to see what I have in my pockets.
Yeah, you guys are all welcome to roll for sleight of hand.
I only have one.
Okay.
See what we kept on?
James, you
Okay.
have
He has nothing.
yeah, you have the necklace for plot convenience.
I mean, I'd be free to take away.
Okay. Kara, yeah, you got nothing on you. Alex, do you want to see if you got something?
All that I carry on me are some hand axes, a great axe, and I'm gonna bet you $10 that they snatch those the first second they.
And two
Oh yeah.
big guns.
Do I remember anything?
Hey.
They couldn't take my muscles, baby. Woo!
I mean, they could. You just, take a dagger and. Anyway,
They weren't in it for the flag yet.
not yet.
Do I remember how I got up in here or got in here?
You remember vaguely. You remember being in a tavern, and you remember ordering a round of mead, and that's the last thing you remember.
I guess I can't hold my liquor.
Do I remember being there with him?
That is for specifically him. Kara, you remember walking down the street and feeling a sting in your neck. That's the last thing you remember.
I was probably protesting.
Yeah. Actually, you were walking towards the coastline from protesting, and you also felt a sting in your neck.
Good to know.
Yep.
What about me, my boy?
Oh, Alex, you were just straight up jumped.
No, I would have fought them off. This is an embarrassment to my people.
Alex, you remember leaving the borders of the town that you were in. The thing that all 4 of you have in common is that the last town you were in was coastal.
Cool.
But they're
Okay.
not the same coastal town. It's just a bunch of different coastal towns.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And Alex, you were walking away from this town when you heard the clattering of bones, and you were attacked by multiple skeletons, actually. Like a very, very, very large quantity of skeletons.
Spooky and scary.
Yep.
What an embarrassment. Getting flung into a boat, knocked out by a bunch of boneheads.
Yeah.
Knuckle.
Your muscles were way bigger than theirs, and
So, does anybody know where we are? Like, I mean, I know we're on a boat, but like, who's holding us here?
At this point, the female water genasi, she kind of stands up and walks towards the cage.
Oh, hi there.
What are you doing? Get away from me.
You really are down in the dumps, aren't you? I am sorry, sir.
I don't like water. I'm made of fire.
Oh,
You-
water's useful.
Sorry, I had to find the right note. I want to make sure I wasn't like giving out wrong information. You can keep trying to struggle, but all it's going to do is it's just going to make those chains tighter, as you've probably already noticed.
What do
Oh.
you know?
I know that the people who are in charge of this vessel know a right thing more than you do about the seas. And they know a
This-
thing right more than we did.
What, are you in charge of this vessel as well?
I was in charge of my own vessel, thank you very much.
All right, good job you did on that one. Stuck in the jail cell of another one.
She kind of jumps forward and grabs the bars. And her face is fuming. If these bars and manacles weren't between us, I'd tear you a limb from... The other water genasi kind of runs up to her and kind of pulls her back. Easy there, easy there. Please forgive my half-sister. She's got a bit of a temper on her. I don't have a bit of a temper. I just know a good thing when it comes around, and these folk aren't that kind of thing.
I've never been a good thing for my parents. Just ask me, Mom.
You had a mom? That's pretty cool.
I love them.
He kind of escorts her to the side, and she kind of shrugs him off. He turns and comes back to you. Sorry, my name is Riptide. As you can infer, I'm water genasi.
I get it, cause it's water. That's pretty good, you know.
Yes, and my sister, Ocean Spray, she was actually, yes, the captain of our vessel, the Iron Vulture. We were attacked about a week ago, and we've been held here for that amount of time. They occasionally take us out of the cells to do a bit of menial labor, but most of the time we just sit down here. They've already got a crew of their own, you see, and they don't need much help from the living.
So how long have you been out?
Oh, you fellows arrived around the same time. You've been here for about 10 hours. You've been out for about that same amount of time. For a minute we thought you were dead, but it's good to see that you're not.
Nothing could ever kill me.
If you, for your knowledge, the rest of our crew, that fellow there in the corner, half-orc, his name's Grug. He's, appears quite frightening, but he's a softy at heart. The half-orc kind of blushes a little bit and then kind of clears his throat. But I'm right strong and powerful. Yes, we all know. You've got a name to make for yourself.
I like him.
The fellow pacing, the Warforged, his name's Firearms. You can probably understand why. He was our weapons specialist on the Iron Vulture. Be careful around him. He's not entirely right in the head.
A bit of a loose cannon.
I see what you did there. You know myself. That tiefling girl over in the corner, her name is Azura. We actually didn't know she was aboard our vessel. She snuck aboard last time we were in Port Hook. And we did not expect that. So, yeah, we couldn't do much about that because we got captured shortly thereafter. And Tabaxi, she's our navigator. Her name is Arax. She's one of the best navigators you'll find on the seas. Don't let her lack of sight throw you off. When she lost one sense, she became quite capable in all others. But that's enough about us. What names call you yourselves?
Oh. Since, talking immediately, I would like to introduce myself. I am Yorick.
Well met.
My hammer was gray, but now it is missing.
Or
Yorick with an I. It's like
My name is
Yorick.
Well, pleased to meet you, Yorick.
my name is
And
Salbar. That's all you'll know.
that sound.
Salbar.
See, now I get why he's judgmental. 'Cause-
You know nothing about
I'm
me.
not saying these in character. Like,
yeah, sorry, that's
I do an accent when I do my character, just so that way I can get away with these comments without being offensive in game.
yeah, and
Even though that's probably what my character would do. About it.
yeah,
I'm not a big fan of anyone who wasn't raised by the sea.
fair. Sorry. Whew. At any point, I know I haven't been great about this either, but if you are saying something that is out of character, just preface it with out of character. That way we know who we are talking about.
Out of character. Okay.
Thank you, Josh. All right. And then the Riptide, because you know his name now, he looks at you, Kara, kind of raises an eyebrow questioningly.
My name is Atka.
Next.
Atka, well met.
Fighting.
I guess you'll be wanting my name too.
Yes, that is part of the getting to know people.
Fine.
I mean,
My
we've
name's
all gone, so that
Peleus.
means it's your turn.
Blaeus,
Peleus.
Peleus. Well met. And you four are part of the same crew, or what's your relation to one another?
I am my own man.
These folks.
We're best friends, basically. I mean, we're sharing a cell, so we're basically best friends.
Don't listen to him. He knows nothing. I stare at him with fierce eyes.
Which person?
I stare at Josh with fierce eyes.
Well, it appears we're
Present.
going to be stuck here for a while. Again,
Okay.
I hope you enjoy your stay. I don't know what the proper thing would be to tell you because, you know, it appears we're all in the same boat. No pun intended. It's. I don't entirely understand what their goal is here, but until we find a way out of here, we're kind of in a bit of a pickle. There is one thing you will be wanting to know, as you've already probably inferred. Those manacles you're wearing are magical.
Yeah, they're pretty well crafted, too. I was rather impressed.
They hurt.
Yes, and it's not just the physical strength that's impressive either. The manacles are also anti-magical, as we discovered, unfortunately, very
Oh.
quickly.
Okay. So that changes plans.
Yes.
When they take you off for the menial labor, do they take them off too?
No, they keep the manacles on the entire time. I believe they know some of us have certain magical prowesses, or at least something related to that. They don't want us to be able to get away with any of it.
It's a good thing some of us don't need magic to fight.
He's a strong fellow. I respect that. We could use more people like you aboard our ship. Well, could have. Past tense. I suspect there's nothing left of the vessel.
What about that Warforged over there? He looks pretty strong to me.
What are you saying about me? The Warforged stops pacing and he turns towards the cage.
I say you look like a pretty strong man.
I can agree with that statement.
I respect a man like you.
It's hard for me to find respect these days. Perhaps we could better get to know one another when these manacles are off.
Okay.
I would love to see an arm wrestle between these guys. Or, you know,
I would love to arm wrestle you sometime.
Sure.
Question: how thick are the bars?
Um,
Are they large enough for his bicep to stick through? Is what he's asking.
yeah. Yeah, the gap between the bars is large enough for his bicep to stick through.
Really? Okay.
I sit down and just kind of stare off into the distance.
He's a brooding man. Those are the most dangerous types. You want to make sure that they've got a good head on their shoulders. Otherwise, you might have to take it off for them. The Warforged kind of goes back to his pacing. The Riptide looks at the group of you. You might want to keep an eye on that one. He, has been known to cause a bit of trouble.
So, is there anything in this cage besides us?
There is a single, very long bench up against the walls in each of the cages, and there is a bucket in the opposite corner.
Okay.
You can infer what the bucket is for.
What are the floors made of?
Wood.
How sturdy does the wood feel?
Very, very sturdy. The boards appear to be very, very thick and very wide.
What about the walls and the ceiling?
Same texture, same type of boards. You do see several sections where they are held together with, rivets and all that. Or not rivets, sorry, nails. Very large, very thick metallic nails. Some of them almost appear to be more screw-like. The boat appears to be held together very well.
Okay. So,
So are we just going to be waiting here until someone comes in?
You are welcome to do. Sorry, I'm yawning for some reason. You are welcome to do whatever you like in the time that you are waiting for someone to come and open the door. Yes.
Eros
what?
has been without her sight. That means she might still know where we are on the sea, even though we're below deck.
At that point, she stops walking in circles and kind of chuckles. I see you're very wise.
I'd say intelligent, but that's just me.
Ocean Spray kind of bolts up. What? You knew this entire time where we were? Arax kind of nods her head gently. Well, I didn't want to alarm you. It's not any information that's going to be relevant or new. But I can tell you that we are several leagues, approximately 70 leagues, out of Porthook. So that means they must have circled back then. The rest of these fellows certainly weren't in that area. Otherwise they would have nabbed them right from the start. And we haven't heard any word of pirates raiding these waters.
Are we totally sure that pirates are what have taken us?
Well, what else would you call them? They're thieves and murderers. They captured you all from your homes, and they brought you aboard this wretched vessel. What
That's
else would you
defining
call them? Chivalrous gentlemen? They're certainly not the type.
Could just be regular thieves. But they are on the water, thus, they are pirates.
I have encountered thieves and barbarians in my lifetime. These men do not seem the type. Skeletons? Undead? What normal band of thieves would employ those types?
Certainly the type that gets away with a lot more than they give off.
You make a good point.
So, you guys sound like you've been here for a
That
while.
was the Warforged.
You
Sorry,
guys sound like you've been here for a while. Guys got any plans for escaping? Or, general ruckus and, sort of stuff?
So Riptide sits down on the floor. Well, we've already tried as you would imagine, we've tried rushing the door whenever they come in to drop off the food, but They usually try to pass things through the bars, and the one time they did open the door for menial labor, um, all that happened was a plethora of skeletons just swarmed in and pushed us all back. We don't know exactly how many are on this vessel, but we do know that it seems to be almost limitless. Whoever's in charge of this vessel certainly is able to do very strange and unnatural things.
To like it. The undead spook me.
Well, then you're certainly in for a spooking. They patrol
Do we have
all highways on this ship.
Do we have anything that could set a fire?
Well, normally I would refer you to our weapons specialist, who's got a bit of fire in his name. The Warforged kind of chuckles and continues pacing. But they took away everything. At least everything that they thought could cause any kind of ruckus. And of course, any sort of riches and gold and loot that you could find.
Interesting.
Do you think that these anti-magic chains would stop me from breathing fire?
Not in the slightest.
You're certainly welcome to try.
I'm gonna get back against the wall. Sorry. Nope. Just getting that out of the way right now.
Backing up.
Okay, James.
I feel like that's a safe plan.
Okay.
Ooh, I've got an idea. You breathe fire on the bars. While they're hot, you pull them apart.
I was thinking of aiming my fire breath cone towards the wooden wall, but that sounds like a pretty good idea.
I'm not sure that blowing a hole in the side of the boat's a good idea right now.
I would agree with that, which is why if we melt the bars and get through that way, easier.
All right then. I advise everyone to move away from the bars.
That's
See,
very
he's a good guy.
someone with a -1 intelligence.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What was that?
I said that's a very considerate thing for someone with a -1 intelligence.
I activate breath weapon.
There it is.
All right. Okay. You're aiming at the bars?
Yep, it has a 15-foot cone. I'm aiming at the bars.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I just need to verify something.
I don't know about you guys, but it feels like we're about to walk into a massive storm
Okay.
of pain.
So your breath weapon is a racial thing, so it's not actually inherently magic.
Yep.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that works. Okay, you are exhaling fire.
Yes.
Okay. So you exhale a cone of white hot fire. And it sort of blasts this very large 15-foot cone. And it spreads and it starts heating up the bars, and you're able to see that the bars begin to turn at first red and then white hot. And as the last of your breath energy is fading, you're able to see that a very large section of the bars glows now white hot.
Grab it and pull it apart.
Okay.
I then reach in with my fire resistance and I pull the bars apart.
My chains against the white hot part.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. Okay. James, as you try to push your chains up against it, there is a incredibly loud hissing sound as the cold metal collides with the incredibly hot bars. One thing you notice is that the chains are not actually they're not actually heating up at all. Yeah. In fact, as this is going on, you notice that the bars are cooling down, And so now you are actually
Yeah.
you are now more or less, for lack of a better word, you're more or less welded to the the bars of the cage.
I won't say that this is my plan, but this is my
Um, and then
I tried.
Alex, you said you were gonna try moving them.
Yes, I have fire resistance.
Okay, roll for Constitution. I'm just kind of curious now because you do have
19.
19. Okay, all right, and then roll for Strength.
Son of a gun. 8. I
Okay.
hate this.
So you attempt to bend the bars, and the burning sensation barely causes you any pain due to your draconic ancestry. As you are trying to pull the bars apart, they kind of squeak a little bit, but they don't really separate at all. They don't bend. Your
No.
hands get really warm, and you get a little blistery. So you take 1 point of damage, but that's it.
Okay.
I scream out in pain. And then I sit in the corner and brood.
All right. So the white of the bars fades into a dull red. So they're still hot, but not white hot anymore.
I'm gonna take the bench and try to pry it in between the bars.
Okay. It's a very very big bench. Like is like this thing's like 10 feet long.
How wide is it?
You might want some help carrying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How wide? How wide? It is about 3 feet wide.
Okay. Yeah, no, uh, help me. I'm gonna try to pry it in between the bars and pull it apart.
It's welded to the
I am
bars.
welded to those bars. I cannot.
Oh yeah. Hey, Alex, do you want to help me then?
I think I can do that.
We're gonna ram the bars with
Okay.
the really hot bars.
Okay, so it's the two of you.
Okay.
Okay, roll for strength for the bench first.
I got a 23.
Oh, that is much better than my measly 14.
To
Okay.
lift up the bench or to make sure that the bench holds up under this.
Just to lift the bench, 'cause it's a big bench. You're able to lift it, although Alex is doing most of the lifting.
I figured.
Josh, you're kind of just like helping.
Salvar.
Salbar, yes, and
Yorick.
Oric,
Yorick.
Yorick. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So Yorick, you're basically just kind of guiding it at this point.
On 3, we ram it.
Yeah.
One,
You can steer.
2.
3.
Okay.
3.
And then
Now roll for strength for charging the bars.
natural 20. It's 3.
I got a. Oh, what is the math? 12?
What the heck? Okay, cool. So, Yorick, somehow you feel like you're contributing so much that you basically inspire yourself, and you charge into the bars full force with the bench. Meanwhile,
Salvar.
Salbar, thank you for taking notes. That makes it easier for me, because I'm not taking notes. Meanwhile, Salbar,
You're supposed to be pretty intelligent, so I would remember a lot of this stuff. And
Fair.
I don't in real life, so
so yeah, Salbar, you are a little taken aback by his energy and how much he is charging those bars, and so you're kind of like stumbling a little, trying your best to help, and so there is force behind it, but most of it is coming from Yorick.
you're holding it up while Yorick pushes.
Yep, that's That's the description. You were doing the lifting, he's doing the pushing. So, you charge the bars, and the bench hits the red hot sections of the bars, and large sections of the bench just snap. Between Yorick and oh my gosh, one more time.
Salbar.
Salbar, thank you.
Remember, salad bar.
Salad bar, yes. Okay, Salbar. Between Yorick and Salbar, the bench kind of just buckles and bends and snaps. Against the bars, there is sort of a bending, not a breaking, but it does kind of push that section of the bars outward just a little bit. Meanwhile, James, what is your character name again?
Peleus.
Peleus. Okay, and then just for the sake of everything, Kara, what was your character name again?
Atka.
Atka, Peleus, Salad Bar, Yorick. Cool. That helps.
Salbar.
Salad Bar. So Peleus, you are kind of just watching all of this unfold. You see them charge.
Slightly in horror.
Yeah, slightly in horror as you are still bound, still welded to the bars, and the bench hits like right next to you. Does not hit you, luckily, but it does bend the bars ever so slightly, and it demolishes the bench.
I imagine we're all sprayed by wood chips.
Just a little bit, not enough to actually cause any real damage, but you do have bits of bench that are flying everywhere. Which that is a wonderful expression. Bits of bench.
I shout in frustration and return to my corner and brood.
What's everyone else doing?
Okay. So, hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
The bench splintered apart, right?
Yes.
How is it like completely shattered, or is like the end of it like frayed?
So it is mostly shattered, especially between yourself and Salvar. So
Okay.
there's a big split in the middle of the bench. So now you have a much smaller bench, which is the back portion, and then you have lots of tiny little micro benches, which are just all of the splinters.
Okay. Can we feasibly use this bench as an improvised weapon now?
Yeah, you could. Especially like
Yes.
chunks of the bench. Like you could pick up one and, there are portions that have like legs on them. You could use that as a club. So,
Okay.
And see, what I was thinking is, now that there are a whole bunch of wood chips everywhere, could we use them to pick the locks?
I don't see why we can't try.
as this is all unfolding, you hear a large number of footsteps that appear to be slowly walking towards the wooden door in this room.
Here we go.
After a moment, the door opens and at least 12 skeletons come through the door. Behind them, you're able to see a different looking warforged. Appears to be mostly made out of stone. And strapped to his back are two warhammers. His eyes seem especially cold and lifeless, even for a warforged. There's something just strange about him. Behind him walks in a strangely youthful-looking, gray-skinned figure. He has a sword strapped to his back that has a large red ruby set into the hilt. He himself is wearing what appears to be sort of a sailor's coat. It's very maroon-looking. He appears very, very, almost unnaturally handsome. And there's something about him that just doesn't seem quite human, although it's hard to tell exactly what. He has sort of a half smirk on his face, and he looks very, very confident about himself. And behind her, or sorry, behind him is a very, very old-looking Triton, basically a merfolk, who she has sort of green, very wrinkled skin, and sort of silverish, bluish hair. She looks very, very old, older than you know should be on a ship like this. She is wearing, sort of a robe of sorts that appears to be the same color as the sea coat that the handsome figure is wearing. She seems a little bit nervous, though she also seems relatively well put together. There's a certain aura about her that seems very powerful and otherworldly. Yeah, and the rest are just skeletons. So you've got a very large quantity of undead, along with these three figures that walk into the room. The handsome gray-skinned figure kind of steps forward. He looks at the bars and the shattered bench, and he kind of chuckles. He looks at the four of you, and he smiles and says, "You've only been here about 10 hours, and already you've put up more of a fight than the fellows in that cage right over there. I like
What?
these group. I like the four of you. You're very well put together.
Thank you.
You're going to make excellent slaves.
I
My
want to
Oh.
use breath weapon.
You can only use it once per long rest."
Son of a gun.
He kind of bows a little bit to all of you. For your information, my name is Captain Zelix Deadwing. I'm pleased that you were able to be my honored guests along our voyage.
Anyone paying attention to those? I'm glaring at the skeletons.
Zedwing?
Deadwing.
Dead.
Yes, Zilix Deadwing. He gestures to the Warforged. This is my companion Rockneck, as you can infer by the rocks in his neck and body, but he prefers his neck for some reason. And this delicate sea flower, gesturing to the old Triton woman, this is Fiorali, and she is my advisor in all things arcane. She's very, very knowledgeable of the seas as well, which is an added bonus. I'm so very glad that you, and he gestures to the other six, and you, who I've already had the pleasure of making the acquaintance of, I'm so glad that you're able to be with us today. Our journey will not take very long. We are actually en route to Midland, for those of you familiar with it. Very, very unstructured, lawless place, the perfect place for the slave trade. I figure that's something that you'd like to know, just a bit of trivia. It's interesting. It's fascinating.
Is that all you're doing? Just selling us? I slowly look up at him from my brooding.
You'd be surprised the amount of coin and riches that are able to be made by acquiring very odd and very unique individuals for the slave trade. After all, anyone can find a couple of humans lying around. Anyone can find someone who has spent their life as a farmer. But look at you. You're a collection of unique individuals. We've got two Tabaxi with their own abilities. We have Water Genasi, Warforged, Half-Orcs, a Tiefling. You're a very fascinating bunch. Furbolgs. There's just so much to be learned from all of you.
People like
And to be
you
exploited, of
disgust
course.
me.
Well, you won't have to deal with me much longer. Once we arrive to Midland, you'll be on your own merry way.
I'll be sure to rip out your throat with my own hands.
Oh, that is quite charming, I must say.
So how far away from the bars are they?
About 5 feet. Captain Zilix is about 3 feet away from the bars.
Would I be able to reach out and grab a skeleton arm?
Yeah, you could actually.
I'm going to
I
grab
wanna-
a skeleton arm.
I'm gonna do that as well, except I'm gonna go for a skeleton skull.
Does the skull fit through the bars?
It will not, but he does have -1 intelligence. All right.
Can I? You want me to roll something?
So I'm gonna give you two options. You can either roll for sleight of hand or dexterity.
Both of those are variations of dexterity.
That is also fair.
Yeah, I'll just do the
Hand.
dexterity.
Sorry,
I'll do the
not
dexterity.
dexterity. Athletics.
Oh.
Oh yeah, athletics.
Yeah. I'll do sleight of hand.
Okay.
I got a 17.
Is that for sleight of hand or athletics? Athletics.
For athletics.
Okay.
Oh.
And then at the same time, Josh, what did you get?
So I was going for sleight of hand, and a natural 20.
Okay,
That's
Nice.
already this game.
that's impressive. So
I-
Josh,
I promise you this, but I promise you that I'm normally not this lucky.
well, I mean, there's always one lucky person every campaign. Stop yawning.
So what you're saying is that I'm gonna be the unlucky guy.
That is
I
a
mean,
distinct
I'm already
possibility.
well into the bar, so
Hey, no one has rolled a critical fail yet. So,
it's true.
This is yet.
Jinx us.
yep, definitely, and that works in my favor.
Yeah,
Okay,
so natural
the wood
20.
has been knocked on. Okay,
Alright, so
yeah.
17.
So Josh, you reach out with such just quiet, slow stealthiness.
Probably uses Salvar's grab at a skull in order to distract him.
Yeah. So while Salvar is like charging forward, you do manage to rip a skull off, but you can't fit it through the bars. While this is all going on, Josh, you manage to somehow dislocate an entire arm from a skeleton without the skeleton or anyone else noticing. And then you manage to hide it like down the back of your shirt.
Another random question.
Link Breath of the Wild, it's still slightly moving.
You will find out.
Was the arm holding anything?
No.
Or... But I now have a bone, right?
Yeah, well, you have several. You have an arm. You have a full arm.
670.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna hold on to that for a little bit.
Okay, you can make soup or something.
Or like a lucky charm or something like that.
All right, so I reach through the bars and grasp. Do I actually grab the skull or what?
Yeah,
happens?
you rip the skull off, and the skeleton is very disoriented. Like, it starts kind of thrashing, and its body kind of goes all weird.
All right. I stare the dude in the main evil guy in the eyes, and I just crush the skeleton's skull to
Okay.
dust in my hand.
Roll for strength. If you get a nat 1, I swear.
So please let this be the first nat one of the campaign.
Skeleton bites.
That's actually a 23.
Okay, you stare him dead in the eyes after ripping off his skeleton's head. There's a little bit of a commotion as, like, the Warforged starts kind of trying to move towards you. Some of the skeletons start trying to move towards you, and you just pluck this skull off like it's a flower. You stare Captain Zilix right in the eyes, and you crush it into powder. As you do that, the skeleton whose body you ripped it from and who Josh ripped the arm from, it just collapses.
Oh, they're the same.
So, congratulations, you killed the first monster of the campaign.
Nice. Wait, are you kidding me? Me crushing his skull didn't cause that skeleton to die?
Well,
I mean,
it did. Yeah, that skeleton is it's dead.
Oh, sweet.
Yep, it just collapses. He gone. He gone.
Woohoo!
Um,
beautiful.
so Captain Zilix kind of holds his hands out and stops the Warforged and the rest of the skeletons. That's quite a neat trick you've got there. You mind if I show you another? And it's at that moment that suddenly it almost feels like all light in the room kind of just dims, and you see this figure. The darkness and the grayness of his face suddenly becomes more pronounced, and a dark, necromantic, spectral energy radiates out from him as you see a pair of
Spooks!
black skeletal wings sprout from his back, and you can feel a wave of unholy energy just wash over you. As this
I am
happens,
spooked!
all of the skeletons who are in the room spontaneously just kind of collapse as their bones just turning into dust. After a moment, things kind of return back to normal, and the wings that were on his back kind of fade. It's at this moment that Riptide, in the other cage, kind of tilts his head, jots down a note, and he says, "You're an Asimar." Zilix turns towards him and chuckles. "Au contraire. Yes, I might bear that title in name, but I've since fallen from the grace of the gods, as it were, as they say. But I find there's so much more profit to be gained working for my own self-interest rather than a bunch of stuffed shirts who can only do things according to the divine rule of the universe."
Cool.
Wearing.
Oh, call me whatever
Cool
name you
trick.
want. That still doesn't change your circumstance. As it stands, you're in there, I'm in here. And he pulls out his sword and kind of holds it sideways. And the gem in his hilt glows red for a moment, and all of the skeletons pick themselves back up.
After turning to dust.
Yep.
Okay.
After all, those who hold the power are powerful.
It's
not
very profound.
It's
Thank
not
you
the
for
best
that.
quote, but it doesn't need to be. I'm the one in
10 out of
charge here.
10.
Still just glaring.
If you have any needs, just let us know. And after your little charade with the bench, that was quite a nice bench. I liked it very much. We're
Speaking of
going to
which,
have to leave a couple of guards here.
real quick, speaking of that, you said if we had any needs, just let you know. Can we get a new bench in here?
I like this one.
I like me too.
Yeah, James, you were saying something?
Um, in my pack, I had a bunch of medicine that I need to take at least weekly. Can you at least let me have that?
He turns to the Triton, Fiorali. He says, "Well, we wouldn't want them to die before we get them to where they're going. But I need you," talking to Fiorali, "I need you to make sure that there's nothing special about that pouch. Because we don't want them getting their hands on..."
I don't care about the pouch, just the medicine.
She kind of looks at you, and she looks back at Zilix. "I'll examine it right away." And she leaves the room. After she does this, and a couple of the skeletons leave, there are 4 skeletons who are remaining, and they appear that they are standing guard. Zilix looks at the rest of you and says, "We should be arriving in Midland in a few days. So until then, I hope you enjoy your time with us. Take care." He leaves the room. The Warforged, Rockneck, turns and looks at all of you, and kind of puts one hand on a warhammer, and then takes one out, and then kind of bashes one of his hands with the handle of the warhammer, which cracks the stone, and then the stone kind of slowly repairs itself. He puts the warhammer back onto his back and leaves the room as well. So currently, you are back alone once again with just the other prisoners and 4 skeletons.
But now we have bones.
For the first time, you hear the young tiefling girl in the corner. He's not very nice, is he?
I agree. And I sit down and in the corner and I brood once again.
Not so much.
I'm going to try and pull my chains apart.
Huh. Interesting. Okay, yeah, roll for strength. Okay, as you struggle, the chains slowly constrict a little bit. Not much. They kind of shrink, but just barely. Not enough to do what I think you were thinking of doing. Yeah,
Worth a shot.
you're
I mean,
not
my
wrong.
character's not very strong to begin with, but he is very smart. So if we had a chance, that was one of them.
The Warforged looks at you and kind of growls. Or, sorry, Firearms does. I guess there's 2 Warforged, so I need to clarify. Although there's only one in the room. Yeah. Right now, you're ripe for the picking. If only there weren't these bars between us. You're such a soft little one.
You know, we might stand a better chance at this if we, don't try to attack each other.
But where's the fun in that?
I'm
So
with
Victor-
the Warforged.
No one is with me.
Oh, stop being so selfish.
Selfish. Would you care to say those words again?
I don't look up. I just sit and brood.
Are you ignoring me now?
I sit and I brood.
The Warforged also kind of attempts to break his chains, and it doesn't really do much. The chains kind of come back together. And he glares at you in the corner. If it weren't for these chains and bars, your blood would be soaking the floorboards.
Tough talk from a piece of metal.
Alright, let's try that again. Oh, better. He struggles again, and the chains contract much more quickly this time, and he runs at the bars and smashes up against them. Doesn't bend them at all, but he definitely does send some sparks flying from the metal of his body and the metal of the bars. Do you want to say that one more time to me, whelp? So at this point, Riptide kind of runs up to him and says, "Firearms, firearms, firearms! Calm down. Bring it back. Bring it back. Think of happy times." Firearms kind of, tosses him aside. Riptide hits up against the wall. "I will not be spoken to by fleshy weaklings like yourself." And he tries.
Oh, I thought that was your key, you stone son of a bitch.
He tries one more time.
This one's metal though, not stone.
I know.
He tries one more time, and the chains don't bend, the bars don't bend. So he kind of glares at you, and then sits right up against the bars. "Eventually, these are coming off, and when they do, you and I are going to have a little discussion." Kind of chuckles to himself.
I lean my head back against the wall. Oh, can you blame me for seeing if a hunk of metal like you could bend the bars? No offense, just trying to find a way out.
No, I'm kind of feeling a little left out. I'm gonna try struggling against the manacles for once.
Okay. I swear if you get a nat 20. I swear.
It still has to be reasonably possible.
Oh yeah, reasonable.
It is a 20. Natural.
Not natural?
Natural 20.
Unnatural 20.
Unnatural 20. Okay,
Come on.
Josh, you struggle, and as you struggle, the two manacles basically, it almost feels like two incredibly powerful magnets. Just your arms get slapped together to the point that it kind of hurts a little bit. You do take one point of bludgeoning damage.
Ouch.
Yeah,
Oof, ouch, my bones.
the Warforged at the
Stop.
same time, he kind of tries to break apart the chains, but his arms are basically just right up against each other. They're just stuck.
Hey, well, if we work together, we might be able to pull these bars apart. You, Mr. Salad Bar, I think it was. You look
don't
like a
know.
pretty. Sorry, what was that?
Salbar.
Salad Bar. Excuse me. Sorry. If you get on one side, you look like you're a pretty strong fellow, and Tabaxi lady. I'm sorry. What's your name?
Anka.
Cat. Help me on this side. We could try pulling these bars apart. If we all work together, it might work out for us.
Okay, so everyone roll for strength.
16.
12.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you what
D2.
you rolled. So the Warforged...
D2.
What?
22.
16?
D2.
T2?
22.
Oh, sorry. All I heard was T2. That was weird. Okay, dang, what the heck?
19 plus 3.
That's stupid, I love it.
I can send you a video because I've started recording because of how ridiculously high I'm rolling.
And then Firearms gets up and is also trying on the bars, and he is staring directly at Salabar, and he says, "I'm only taking these bars apart so I could take you apart."
Fair enough.
Oh yes, they budge. As all of you are pulling on the bars, they start bending, sort of creaking and splitting. As this happens, the 4 skeleton guards that are there begin pulling out weapons. Well, they pull out clubs, and one of them leaves the room. So runs up the hallway. But you do manage to separate the bars that a medium-sized creature could easily pass from cage to cage.
But
Oh,
we
cool.
still can't get out of the cages.
Exactly.
Also, is this Warforged large creature?
Yes.
Okay, cool. He still can't get in here.
Yep. However, the bars are wide enough. Alex, he punches you right in the face.
Oof.
So,
Ooh, I have an AC of 15.
okay. He misses. Or wait, no. He hits. Yeah, he hits.
How much is that doing?
Hopefully not enough to kill.
So, Alex, he punches you right in the face, and you take 7 bludgeoning damage.
Jeez!
Whoa!
As the bars kind of pull apart, he stops pulling for 1 second and just bah! Just knocks you right in the skull. And then he proceeds to put one of his hands on one of the cannons on his arms and start trying to rip it from his own arm.
I back up very fast.
What, you can't face me? What do you think, because you hide behind your words? Suddenly you're capable and able to stand up to great power? You're nothing but a fleshy. You're weak, and if you and I were to go toe-to-toe, your blood would be dripping.
We would never went toe to toe. You got a cheap shot off of me and took down a lot of me. That's no way to fight like a man. You fight like an animal.
There are no animals like me, and in war there are no cheap shots. Only the ones you're willing to take, and the ones you're too scared to.
How far away are the skeletons?
Well, they're up against the bars of the front of the cage, so depending on where you are in the cage. And
Guys, I have 6 hit points left.
I try to nab some more bones.
Take a long rest.
Okay. Josh, roll for sleight of hand.
What is Josh trying to do?
He's trying to steal more bones.
He can create his own skeleton.
By the end of this campaign, Josh just
Okay.
has all of the skeletons.
So sleight of hand is +2. That would be a 16.
16. Okay. And their passive perception is not great. So some people in the other cage and some of your own party do see it, but you managed to steal another arm.
It's not from the same skeleton.
No, different skeleton.
Same arm? Is it both of them right arms, or does he have right and left?
I'll leave that up to Josh.
So playing weapons, right?
What?
Clubs.
They're clubs.
Steal their arm. I'm stealing a club then.
It depends on which arm you steal.
Is the right arm because you always choose the right.
So Josh, what you're doing is arming yourself.
Yes, I am.
Boo!
I'm also trying to arm everyone else in this cage.
Sorry, what? One more time?
He's trying to arm himself.
Trying to arm myself and everyone else in this cage. I'm going to toss the bone to you know, it wouldn't be so funny if I didn't have this issue in real life. Tabaxi lady.
Atka. I catch it. I'm
Okay.
really surprised. What are you doing?
Oh, just seeing what I can do to help.
Yeah, Riptide kind of slips through the gap in the bars, and he says, "Yes, I'm actually kind of more impressed that you were able to do that twice." The skeletons by this point have noticed, and they kind of look down. One of them looks at its own arm and kind of like has a midlife crisis. So
Death crisis, you mean?
yes, a mid-death crisis.
You
So
wanna know
he's
what I'm impressed with? The fact that nobody else noticed that Atka called the captain a traitor.
that is an excellent point. Why do you bring that up?
Smart one.
I kind of want to know her relationship with the cap.
No relationship with the captain of himself, but I know something about his kind.
The half-orc Grug, he also slips through the bars. You know things about the Asimars. Well, spill it. What do you know?
I'm a warlock. I follow a celestial being known as Solaris. I was just out of studying at the temple when I was captured.
So you...
Ooh.
Yeah, actually, out of character, what do I know about this guy?
Probably nothing about him.
Probably nothing about him, but
So if you were doing... Oh, yeah, no, never mind. That works. Yes. So you would know that Asimar are children of an angel and some other race. And fallen Asimar are those who have gone against their oaths. You don't know anything particular about this one, but you do know that that betrayal and that fall does give them... it does bind them to a more necromantic sort of power, which you're able to sense very strongly. Aside from that, there's not much you know about him. You do know that the sort of powered influence he has is not something that most fallen Asimar are able to possess. So there's something unnaturally strong about him.
Real quick, what you a celestial pact with? Which god?
made up one. His name is Solaris.
So, out of character, there is a god known as Solia, which is basically the same thing. Cool. So you are your patron is the goddess of the sun, light, and intelligence.
Praise the sun!
Also, one of the 5 high gods that oversee and direct the rest of the pantheon.
Cool.
Yeah. So this pantheon, it does have a specific. There are a number of specific gods for basically every aspect. There are over 30 gods, 2 of which are dead. But that's not important.
I mean, to be honest, when I said it, I was thinking of the penguin god.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a penguin god also.
Long story, we'll get to it another day.
Yeah, that'll come up eventually.
Yeah.
At this point, as you were all chatting, the skeleton that left comes back in with the Triton woman, Fiorali, and she kind of looks shocked for a moment at everything that's going on, and she's holding the satchel, the bag with your medicines and whatnot, and she looks around at the rest of you and goes, what on earth is what is happening here?
Just wanted a little more breathing room, get to know the other people a little better. Yeah, have a little rough and tumble fight,
I suppose you're all
Generally,
in your cages. I don't know. I guess that's okay.
Can you spare some health? Some healing?
Perhaps. It looks like you took quite a blow to the wait, what is this is no, you this is not right.
Don't worry about
Robotic,
it.
robotic bastard got a cheap shot off of me. Don't question it.
Do you refer to Rockneck?
No, the one in the cage next to me.
Ah,
Excited to see if she likes being on this ship. Just by the way that she's speaking about the prisoners. 13.
it's kind of hard to tell, but she does not seem like she quite fits in. Like there's something about her that does not belong there.
Okay.
She comes up to the bars of your cage. I guess at this point it doesn't really matter, but she comes up to the bars of the cage and she hands over the sack the satchel with the medicines, the bag, and she hands it to you.
How much of the satchel is intact?
All of it.
I look inside of it for something to raise my hit points again.
I mean, she's handing it straight to me.
No, okay, never mind.
She turns and kind of dismisses the skeletons. And she turns
Real quick,
Yo,
before you leave, hand me like a skeleton arm.
the skeletons ignore you.
You lend me a hand? Maybe they only speak in puns.
Nope, they keep on walking. They leave the room. So once
All
they
A little bit faster once you say that.
once you've left the room, Fiorali turns back to the rest of you and says, "All right, there isn't much time. I'm essentially a prisoner on this ship as well. I've been obligated for years to work under servitude of the captain. He needs someone who knows quite a bit about the arcane, and I am obviously a bit more talented in that aspect. I know what you've got in that bag, and that it's not just medicine, but that's part of the reason why you need to have all of it. And the rest of you, I believe I can get your weapons and gear to you, but we'll need to be quick and we'll need to be stealthy. Currently
Why are you
outside,
doing this?
I'm doing this because I think there might be a way for us to escape, and with all of your combined talents, we might be able to overpower the great army that resides on this vessel. But we'll have to time it right. Zeliix is not someone we want to encounter, nor is Rockneck. The two of them combined are incredibly powerful. We'll have to sneak out when Zeliix is sleeping and when Rockneck is otherwise occupied. We should be able to get a brief window of opportunity in about 5 hours. I'll come back, I'll let you out, and we'll be able to find a way to get to your belongings. Until then, stay here, don't cause much of a ruckus. Otherwise, we might have a bigger issue.
Okay, quick question. We are on a boat, right?
Correct.
This is in character, by the way.
Yes, yes, very much. Very large vessel.
Okay, so I mean, let's say we do this founding plan of yours. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm all for it. Are we like docking in 5 hours, or besides other rooms of the ship, are we going to split the ship in half and say, "You, Mr. Deadwing, you stay on your half, and we'll stay on our half because we rightfully own this half," or
Remember, Deadwing cannot move through the opening. He is not small enough. Although I do believe everyone else is.
There are a selection of rowboats that are attached to the side of the boat. If we can get up to the main deck when Captain Deadwing is otherwise occupied, and when Rockneck is also otherwise occupied, we'll be able to steal them and escape. Because of the position I hold on this ship, the skeletons should not suspect a thing as long as the rest of you stay manacled. Once we get off the ship, I believe I know an incantation that should be able to remove them from your wrists. Do you have any other questions?
There might be a small problem with staying manacled and getting off the ship.
Sometimes I swear, this is not worth it. She kind of comes over to you, kind of double checks, and she puts her hand up on the bar. Those of you who are adept with magic, you know that she's casting heat metal, and so the metal bars kind of start to heat and glow to the point that you're able to kind of take your manacles out.
That means that technically there should be a small chunk of metal.
Oh yes.
Cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem. Just try not to do anything stupid.
Fair enough. I don't think
I
I'm
won't
have to
move.
worry about.
stupid happens to be my specialty, but I'll hold off for now.
She
Staring at the rest of you in exasperation.
she kind of looks at all of you and kind of nods, and then says, "I'll be back. Stay quiet." And she leaves, and 4 skeletons walk back in.
Are they the same ones? So like one's missing an arm and the club?
Yep.
Okay. He still doesn't know where those went to, does he?
I would like some help. I say as blood runs down my face.
I would be able to help if I could use magic.
Don't worry. With this pack, I should be able to at least help you a little bit.
Okay, I need to step out for a second because try.
I'm gonna just do a medicine check on him.
Okay.
Heal up with you.
Yeah, so I should be back in like 5 minutes. So,
How
yeah.
much do I roll for that? So I roll a d20 for medicine, and then how much what do I roll for his?
So it's basic healing. I think it's probably like a DC 15.
DC 15?
Yes.
Just to get him all the way up to full health?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Let's roll.
Unless you have like certain feats or something that would make that easier.
No, I mean, I am proficient in. No, I'm not proficient in medicine.
Oh, that's problematic.
Meaning that I get it too.
Yeah, that's problematic.
But I do have some stuff if someone else is proficient in medicine and wants to give it a shot. Including from the other ship.
For the sake of right now, none of them are proficient. Because I have to step out.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Oh, and then Karen.
MK, it's the other staircase. Yeah, I can figure it out.
I'm very upset at that Warforged. I thought I had told him that I was doing that only to see if he could break the metal bars, but apparently my words are very impactful.
I mean, he isn't very persuadable to do anything except anger, from the looks of
Hey,
things.
speaking of persuasion, I have a -2 to all of my charisma style checks.
So you are not charismatic at all?
Not charismatic at all.
You do realize that you're being the most charismatic person here.
Ironically, yes. Um, trying to figure
Uh,
out. I
I
usually
am.
roleplay as high charisma players, and so I'm real. I intentionally made his character low charisma or low charisma to try playing a low charisma character.
Is that
It's
pretty hard for you?
weirdly difficult for me.
I
Yeah,
apologize.
I'm having this weird problem where my character is very young and very inexperienced, but I also have really high charisma. Not quite sure how to play this.
Sorry, you cut out there. What did you say?
Sorry. My character is really young and inexperienced, but she does have really high charisma, so I'm not totally sure how this balances.
And charisma isn't always everything everyone makes it out to be. Act
See,
charismatic. I could
I'm
just be.
charismatic, but I'm more in the deception and getting you to do what I say sort of stuff, rather than the face of the party. Does that make sense?
I'm really trying to feel out the soul of Yorick, trying to figure out what kind of a person he is.
Makes sense. I'm
This
very
has
bitter
been.
against mainlanders. If you guys haven't noticed.
Yeah, I could tell that. I tried to flesh out my character before we started this, so I kind of have a little bit of a story behind him.
Well, that's
But
good.
you guys aren't gonna know that.
I have something resembling a story.
I am a tree person who came from Rock Place that does fiery things. Hold my backstory.
Excellent, excellent. All good things.
And I've now started recording each time I roll the dice because those two natural 20s were actually insane.
I mean, they weren't for things that were too important, so
I
I'm not
know.
worried.
I was a little sad that it wasn't like, oh, we're trying to rip apart the bars. Natural 20. Bam. We win.
We might have had
Along the
more troubles if you tried to do that, though.
right? It makes things interesting. Solitary confinement wouldn't have been nearly as fun as a communal cell. Also, do you think the manacles absorb divine magic as well?
Probably.
Probably so, considering that the guy who created them is literally a fallen angel, so to speak.
Well, we don't know if he created them. We know that he uses them and that he's the current owner of them. I don't think we necessarily know he is the creator of the manacles.
We're all just getting a little bit more of our background.
Yeah, what was the sun god's name again?
Solia.
Solia. Okay.
I'm assuming we can just cut out Nikkei leaving in post.
We definitely will be able to, but some of this conversation we'll want to keep. Hey, we're back.
I've returned.
So, are we just planning on waiting for, 1 second. For your rally to, come back and let us know when it's time to escape?
Might I suggest a rest would be in order?
Oh yes, I would love a rest of some variety.
Ooh, I would love to do a long rest right now.
All right.
I doubt we have enough time for a long rest, but we can give
A long rest would be 8 hours. We could do a short rest.
Okay, I'll do a short rest then.
That means you can use one of your hit dice to, heal up. And I'll try another medicine check. I got another 2 again. How exactly 2 again?
So, in your attempt to find a way to heal up people, you managed to actually invent a pretty good tasting salsa. It has absolutely no magical properties whatsoever. In fact, it might actually induce very, very, very trace amounts of blindness, but it's delicious, and you think it would pair very nicely with a side of mutton. Yeah.
So, MK, while they're doing this, I'm going to pull a bit of moss from my hair, and I'm going to go ahead and give a medicine check a shot. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. That is a 22.
22.
I mean, it was a DC 15 when it was for me, so.
Yep. Your moss, that particular growth of moss, actually has certain.
Antibodies.
Certain.
Antibodies. Penicillin.
Yeah, it has certain. It has certain natural properties and certain bacterium rich within it that make it suitable for healing him this one time. Because I'm not going to say you have magic healing hair.
Oh. I thought that was the precedent that we set. Oh well.
Yeah, you are able to heal him.
This one's.
This once.
How many hit points?
7.
Cool.
Just for the sake of making it easier.
Is that to me?
Yes.
That is to you. As I force feed you my hair moss.
Yes, thank. Could it actually do 8 because I'm actually down 8 hit points.
Because you had the one from the.
This is true. How nice do I want to be? Alright.
You're rolling a die on how nice you want to be?
Yep. So, high, it heals all. Low, it heals just 7. It heals all.
Yes. Bless you, you kind DM.
Yeah, don't thank me yet.
Oh no, I'm terrified.
Okay.
Alright. So, you guys are taking a rest?
Indeed, I am.
Okay.
I think just like passing the time until.
Okay. The old half-blind tabaxi, Arix, she slips through the bars and comes up to you. Sorry. Peleus. She comes up to you, and she doesn't look directly at you because she's blind, but she does kind of gesture in your direction. It's kind of an odd request, but do you have any liquid that you wouldn't mind spilling out?
I mean, now that I have my pack, I have plenty of liquid.
Even something as simple as water should be sufficient.
Yes.
Okay. I only need a couple of ounces of it.
I'm fairly certain I should have something like that on my thing. So, yeah.
Cool.
I'll just pass it over.
Alright. She kind of looks at the skeletons that are standing there. At this point, they've stopped caring that you guys are slipping between cages. But she kind of gestures to Grug, who comes over and stands in front of her so that the skeletons aren't able to see directly what she's doing. And then she kneels on the floor and pours out water, and the water, starts to spread normally like you would expect, and then it kind of pools in a circle, almost as if it's held by some magical force. And she kind of traces her finger around the edge of the circle, and then strokes kind of like an X through it, and then puts her hand in the center, and a very, very dim light begins to shine, and after a moment, the water becomes almost like a mirror, just incredibly clear. It's so clear and reflective, in fact, that had you just entered the room, you would have thought it was made of glass. With this mirror, she then mutters an incantation very, very quietly under her breath. You're able to hear the faintest murmur, but not quite what she says. She takes a finger from her forehead and puts it directly into the mirror, which ripples, and as it ripples, the reflection changes and shows the outside of the ship.
It's a pretty neat trick.
So you're able to see the surrounding waves of the ship, and basically just the ship itself. Atop the ship, you're able to see just a ridiculous number of skeletons everywhere, and they are manning everything on the ship. At the helm, you are able to see Rockneck, who is actually steering the vessel, and you're able to see Zilix, who is not necessarily pacing, but he is kind of casually strolling up near the helm. The surrounding waters, there doesn't appear to be anything in them. And after a moment, she kind of takes her hand and kind of brings it to a point atop the water, and the view gets further and further away. You're able to see just waves and waves and waves, and as it zooms out further and further and further, you're able to see just waves for miles and miles and miles. And yeah, after a moment, she kind of brings her hand down, and all the water kind of the mirror effect slowly fades away, and the water slowly just returns to a puddle. And she hands the water flask over to you and says, "Thank you. I'm able to determine one thing. We are nowhere near land. Which makes the hope of an escape very odd. Well, it seems odd that this woman would wait until we've gotten this far out in order for us to escape. Perhaps it could be that in the crashing of the waves and in the darkness of the night, we would be able to get away, and they would keep going with such a speed they wouldn't even notice we were gone until it was too late."
Well, there's one thing you forgot. She is a merfolk. Maybe she's not looking for land.
This is entirely
Our
true.
salvation is underwater.
This is entirely true. Don't think my scrying ability would allow me to perceive underneath the waves, especially not at the depths that are around this area. But if there is something, it had better be something very close by. Otherwise, we'll have a very hard time getting anywhere.
Makes
Quick,
sense.
out of character.
Yo.
Would the manacles absorb divine energy?
If it's inherently magical, yes.
Okay.
Usually. You're welcome to try.
Yeah. Okay.
So this
Just-
stops us from using magic against it, but not using magic in general, because she just used the scrying magic.
Apparently.
So, just thought I'd make a note of that for all of you magic users out there.
Just as a test, I'm going to cast Sacred Flame at the bars.
Okay. The manacles kind of quench your magic.
Okay. Now I'm going to put my hand against the floor and make small tremors using thaumaturgy. Is that also quenched?
Also quenched.
Interesting. So it's almost as if we can't use our hands too. Okay.
But she was able to use her hands.
I will go over and ask how she did that.
That's probably a good idea.
Well, I did find one flaw in this creation. They created them so that they would be resistant and nullifying to almost every single type of magic. But for some reason they didn't think divination magic was worth any trouble. Which, unfortunately, as you're able to see by our present situation, it hasn't freed. But it can give us some insight into where to go from here.
Huh. So, I'm going to cast Identify on these chains.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. Oh, interesting. Oh, ooh, that's smart. Okay. So it's instantaneous, it's touch, you're already touching it. Okay. So,
With that additional domain and with my domain spell being Identify, I'm going to use one of my level 1 spell slots to cast it.
cool. So, as you cast the spell, this magic does not feel hindered in any way. Every other time it felt like you were basically reaching for your magic and instead you felt an empty void. This time it flows completely, completely purely without any complications or issues.
That's interesting.
As you are casting this, as you are casting the spell, you learn properties. It has been enchanted to resist essentially all types of magic. It does not, however, take into consideration racial-based magic. So the
Oh, that is useful.
yeah, the breath weapon of the Dragonborn, it did not take that into consideration, and divination is not part of its domain. It seems to have a near infinite capacity, as its energy, its ability to nullify magic, actually comes from the magic that is cast against it. So it
Okay.
effectively cannot lose a charge as long as people are trying to use magic against it. So the spell description says you learn whether or not the item was created by a spell. There were multiple spells involved in this, but the main one, the most obvious one, was anti-magic, not anti-magic. Dispel magic.
Interesting. Okay. So it does not block racial magic.
No, it does not.
That is good to know.
Okay. Have people been resting or?
I have been resting.
Okay.
Besides that, I've been resting.
Okay. Is there anything else anyone wants to do?
I would like to sharpen the bones.
Okay, you sharpen them. After a certain amount of time, Fiorali enters the room once more. She dismisses the skeletons, and in her hands she's holding a pair of keys. She walks towards the bars, unlocks the doors, and says, "You'll have to follow quickly. We're going to grab your gear, and then we're going to get off this terrible, terrible place."
Real quick, I know we're keeping the manacles on just because they are useful in aiding the disguise. But if you were to take them off, it would be make my own manacles, so to speak, and it would aid us in order to have access to my arsenal, my whole arsenal of magic.
I will see what I can do, but at the present time, it's more pressing that we leave this room as quickly as possible. And as she says this, the entire ship rocks sideways, and you all kind of stumble. It felt like something massive just struck the side of the ship.
What was
Okay,
that?
let's go.
And that's where we're going to end that.
No! Hey! You can't. Ugh.
Cliffhangers are the best way to end, as any good
Perfect.
writer will tell you.
Perfect.
All right.
Oh, man.
So yeah, next time we play, you guys will be trying to escape the ship, and you'll be finding out what exactly is happening in the waters around you. Because as you saw, there's nothing around, or so it would seem. So, yeah, that'll be fun. And next time we meet, we will continue this adventure. To those of you who have been listening this entire time, thank you for joining us. And we hope you'll join us next time. This has been the very first and hopefully well executed episode of Cush D&D.
Woo! Yeah, thank you for watching.